5, 4, 3.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Chief Pamela Smith. Thank you all for being here today. When I was first nominated in July, I shared it was my distinct honor and privilege to be introduced as the nominee for the Chief of Police for the Metropolitan Police Department. Today, I'm honored and humbled to stand before you as the Chief of Police with the immense responsibility of leading the great men and women who work to keep our city safe each and every day here in the District of Columbia. I want to thank Mayor Muriel Bowser, who is a mayor who supports public safety. I am grateful for her trust in me and her nomination to serve as the city's next Chief of Police. I would also like to thank the DC City Council for their confidence in me and their confirmation vote yesterday. Please know that I am passionate about ensuring the public safety for the residents and visitors of Washington, D.C., and I'm passionate about the people who work for the Metropolitan Police Department. As I shared 3 months ago, as a community, we must tackle the violent crime issues that we are experiencing across the district. I was passionate about tackling crime then, and I'm just as focused now to ensure we do everything we can in this space. We've got to work as a department to continually look at our data and various things that are driving crime in our city. We have prioritized several initiatives and implemented new programs to help make DC a safer place. But one of the big things I have focused on is restoring our relationships with the members in our community and our partners across the region to work collaboratively on positive outcomes. We cannot do this work alone, and community involvement and a whole-of-government approach to these problems we see are very vital. We still have a lot of work to do, but my promise to the community is we will continue doing that work to serve and protect our citizens, fostering trust and community relationships, and ensuring the safety of every visitor, business, and resident of the District of Columbia. Thank you, and I will take questions now.
Start with Derek and Chandler. Or I'm sorry, Sam. Start with Sam.
Sam mix us up.
How you doing, Sam?
But I don't know, just basically been the chief since July. And this is an immense job. How do you tackle it? I guess that's the question. If I went on the street, asked people, I guess the only criticism I got, was that, well, she ran a government agency department, which is a whole different thing from running a Metropolitan Police Department in a metropolitan city. What's your response?
Well, my response to that, I was a chief with the U.S. Park Police, Shirley, and with the U.S. Park Police, we also dealt with communities. And clearly here in the District of Columbia, it's a much broader scope, a much broader perspective when you talk about crime, when you talk about residents, when you talk about the collaboration with other federal, state, and local partners. And my true response to that is that even though I was a chief there, I've been a chief here for 3.5 months, and the same impactful work that we've been doing within the last 3.5 months is the same work that I will continue now as the chief of police.
Are you concerned that this, and I know you can't not answer this in the way I guess you have to, but I don't recall a time when we've had as much stuff going on. I mean, carjackings, car thefts, homicides. How do you approach a day dealing with all of this stuff you got to do?
Well, one of the first things I do is always I look at the data. I try to analyze exactly what's happening in particular areas across the District of Columbia. I meet with my team to ensure that we're providing resources and putting resources in places where we need to be. And we are constantly looking at new strategies, new initiatives in order to keep the community safe. That's my everyday focus is to drive crime down across the District of Columbia. We've made some impacts in small areas, and all we're going to do is keep doing the same exact thing with working with our partners, federal, local, and state, continuing to enhance a lot of the initiatives and strategies that we see that it's going to keep the District of Columbia safe.
Is there anything you'd like to change about the department, something that once you're working through ranks, I guess?
Well, there are a couple of things that I'm looking at with respect to how we how we structure organizationally in order to look at the different types of I'll say units or divisions that we have. And sometimes, you know, as time changed, I think Sam said a few minutes ago that he has not seen anything as impactful as it's been right now with different things that are happening in a different district. And so what that means for me is that we can't continue to do the same thing the same way expecting different results. So my job right now is to really look across the broader scope of the department to see what we can do to enhance our resources in different areas and to do things differently than what we've done before.
Are you talking about employment stand or just the way things are structured, even the district's boundaries and things like that?
We are looking at, yes, we are looking at redistricting. I think that is certainly a topic of discussion that has been a conversation since I've been in this seat. I think we'll take a much more closer look at that as I continue in this space the next couple of months.
Yeah, you talk about addressing violent crimes being one of the top priorities. When we look at violent crimes specifically involving juveniles, I know we've had at least 15 juveniles killed so far in DC this year. I had sat down and talked with some teenagers and they told me, number one of the responses with getting it done is as easy as getting a cell phone for these kids. And that they feel like they need a gun to be protected in our city. So I guess what are your responses to them making these comments and what plans do you have to address what we're seeing with our young kids and make them feel like they are safe?
Well, thank you for that question. I think that you know, one of the things that we're finding with, especially with our young people who are obtaining or being in possessions of firearms, is that they're bringing these firearms in conversations in order to resolve conflict. And so there has to be a method of conflict resolution. And we're not, and I think in the Metropolitan Police Department, one of the things that I want to do is not wait until we have 15 or so deaths with juveniles, but to certainly start working with our young people in our elementary schools to really help support them in efforts in order for them to feel safe. And then one of the things that I'm doing is I'm going to be launching what's called a Blue Table Talks, where I will begin to go out or have them come into my office and talk with at-risk youth to really get them to change their minds, their thought process. This will not just be an effort that I will be doing by myself, but I'll have members of my staff and members of the community who constantly ask me, what can we do to help? And I think when we have influential and powerful people, when I say powerful, who have a voice to really engage and re-engage our young people in the right direction, I think coming together and having those discussions will be my first pitch to some of these young people who feel as though they have to have firearms in order to feel safe.
And then we know carjackings, thefts, as someone else had mentioned, really skyrocketing this year. I know you guys have been doing just handing out the air tags the last few days, but are you looking at any other plans that you want to put in place to address just the rash of carjackings and other thefts?
There are a couple of initiatives that I plan to launch in the very near future. However, and I say this a lot of times because I do make my pitch to the mayor first, and I'd like for her to be able to give feedback on that. And there are a couple of initiatives that we're looking at in the very, very near future that we're going to launch here at the Metropolitan Police Department that I think will be effective. It's been effective in other cities across the United States, and I think we're ready to do something different in that space with addressing our carjackings as well as our robberies. For the holiday season, you know, we will have additional officers, additional resources in various areas across the districts to ensure that we can keep our shoppers and our retail folks safe as they begin to shop for the holiday season.
Can you speak to us about, and what Sam was pointing out, this is just a very complicated time. Not only that, you have a number of pressures on you, not just to address youth crime district, but also crime also impacts people coming downtown.
Mm-hmm. And so it as easy as it took for us to get to this point, and and when I say easy, it took us some time to get here. It's going to take us some time to really drive these crime trends down. We will continue to stand up our robbery suppression initiatives as we do Thursday night through Sunday mornings. We will continue to have resources in areas where we've seen a crime, an uptick or an increase in crime in specific areas. We will continue to utilize our professional staffs and our relationships with our federal, local, and state partners to assist us with making sure that we drive down some of these crime trends. And please keep in mind that it is not just specific to the District of Columbia. You know, we're seeing these in a lot of different areas across, seeing a lot of different crime issues specifically related to car thefts and carjackings in a lot of different areas across the United States. And I am in constant communication with my colleagues to ensure that we are all collectively looking at ways in which we can address crime.
And we, in hearing the council and asking them about measures they've put in place previously, their response is, we need police to tell us what we need. We will make sure that they have the support to get it. What are you going to ask the Congress, or excuse me, the council? What do you need help with?
Well, I think the first thing we're asking if they could pass the Addressing Crime Trends Now legislation that Mayor Bowser and Deputy Mayor Lindsay Appiah proposed to the council. I mean, I think it's going to be effective to give us various tools in order to address some of the crime trends that we're seeing, especially when we talk about organized retail theft, and specifically when we talk about young people or young adults using ski masks in order to commit crime. So at the onset of what I think we need to really focus on, those are the two major areas that we seem to have some significant issues, but I also believe that the Act Now legislation will help support us in those areas.
Sam, you get comments?
How are you? Good. I know. I asked the question first, so it's okay. You still have two.
So during the confirmation hearing, you said to the council members that you were still talking with agency heads. How far along are you in that process? And just, you know, in the realm of that, when it comes to collaboration, whole government approach, how much that involves relinquishing some of the things that MPD is usually tasked with doing, like in terms of engaging the public. You know, what does that look like in terms of better enabling MPD to focus exclusively on what is there for as far as controlling and deterring crime?
So and thank you for that question. I think we have been doing, I think on a monthly basis, almost a weekly basis, making sure that we are in collaboration with our other DC government entities, our all of government approach. We conduct community walks on a weekly basis, and that walk is just not specific to the Metropolitan Police Department, but we bring in other agencies. We bring in CSOSA, we bring in DPR, DPW, DDOT to really address some of those issues that you just mentioned that are not specifically related to public safety from a crime perspective. When it comes to talking to some of the other agency heads or collaborating with them, I think I've had a pretty positive relationship with them. I think I can call upon the other directors that are in the cabinet of the mayor to support the Metropolitan Police Department when it is necessary. We're also looking at other opportunities where when I say other opportunities where we recognize that there is some things that the Metropolitan Police Department should not do on as far as different types of calls that we should be responding to. And so we're just working with those agencies to see if we can get some additional support in that area, knowing that we have a decrease in staffing. But they have been extremely supportive in that space.
And in regards to us getting to this point over a long period of time, you've expressed a whole government approach and doing things a bit differently. How much in alignment do you believe your staff to be, you know, your colleagues and people under you within the department, and like you see that mindset permeating throughout the entire department? And, you know, just in the sense that we have officers on the ground interacting with young people, interacting with, you know, suspects and community members. You see this collaborative mindset permeating throughout the whole department, just so that when they're outside representing you and the department, they are, you know, acting in accordance with the law and just being collaborative.
Well, again, another question. So I will say that our officers are very passionate about the work that they're doing. I asked my team to really conduct public safety walks just once a week. What I've observed and what I've witnessed is that they're doing that multiple times a week. Whenever there's various opportunities within their respective districts or outside of their district, you will find them engaged in their communities, whether it's a community walk, whether it's a peace walk, whether it's a basketball game with the young people, whether it's a badges and barbers opportunity for young men to get, little boys to get their hair cut. We have a youth services division where our Youth and Family Engagement Bureau officers are constantly engaged with a lot of our at-risk youth. And then those youth that are not at risk. I believe the members of the Metropolitan Police Department do model my exact approach when it comes to community engagement. I've oftentimes told my team that they need to lighten my schedule up just a little bit so that I can get out in the field so that folks can see a little bit more of me, and we will continue to do that. And I will also take the lead in the charge. I think when the officers see that the chief of police is able to get out in the communities and have discussions with community members, with young people in school. I've invited young people to my office since I've been in this space as we're getting ready to stand up the Chiefs Youth Advisory Council again. And it's important to me that I have collaboration and communication with some of the young people, being the senior public law enforcement official here at the Metropolitan Police Department.
Thank you.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Forgive me if it's been asked and answered, but at least one council member asked about having more officers on the street, on foot, versus in the car. Is that type of policing even possible given the staff shortages?
Absolutely. I certainly think it's possible. I think that, and I'll use this as an example, in order to establish relationships, you have to be present. And so that means to me that our officers in certain areas and spaces and places where we're seeing an increase in crime, we should have them out of the cars, and they should be conducting foot beats. We call them short beats, and I like the idea of short beats where the officers go out to particular areas and they walk that area on foot at the direction of their respective commander and or assistant chief, and I support that wholeheartedly. I think the community needs to see us. I think the public needs to see us, but I also think that that's a significant deterrence. When someone is thinking of committing a crime, they see the presence of our officers in those spaces, and we will continue to do that as well.
Can you give us an update on recruitment and retention and the scope of the staff at this point?
Well, right now, today, we have a total of 3,341 police officers assigned to the Metropolitan Police Department. We just hired 2 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 3 weeks ago, a class of 23. A month before that, we hired a class of 21, and the previous month before that, a class of 21. I am intentional about making sure that we increase our numbers as it relates to sworn officers. I did establish a recruitment team about a month or so ago now, to really focus on recruitment efforts at colleges, universities. And I've asked them to extend a little bit outside of the boundaries of the District of Columbia, because in a place like the District of Columbia, where we have a lot of law enforcement agencies, it's certainly a competing interest. But that team is really a diverse team that's really excited about getting out there and having in-person communication with folks in order to draw or hire folks for the Metropolitan Police Department. We continue to have prospect days on Fridays. We do offer our employees employee referral bonuses up to $5,000 for any employee who helps to onboard or have an individual hired as a new police officer for the agency. And of course, we still have the $25,000 signing bonus as a recruitment tool. I have, as of yesterday, met with some of the apartment developers to talk to them about offering reduced rent for some of our police officers as a recruitment tool if they were to sign a lease within their particular establishment. So we're working through some of the details on that. I think that's another tool in order to recruit officers for the MPD.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you. Is that it? Okay. I'm walking. Thank you so much.